Who want one last trip to the long trail?
So what is this tweet? This is Fergus. I think Roger coming back is pretty cool. It's good to have non-Tekken 7 characters returning over repeated base and DLC characters. Could means that these characters might crop up at some point. Bruce, I say no way. Bruce is not returning ever. Fakaram replaced him. Brian replaced him. Josie replaced him. Josie got replaced by Azazina and Mamizo. There's a lot of replacing going on in the kickboxing area of Tekken. Baek-doo-san, I wouldn't completely say no to him, but I just know that they gave Ha-Rang so much of his kit, and if they were to bring him back, he would not be the same Baek-doo-san that you guys remember. But you also got to remember Taekwondo Girl. If they do a Taekwondo character again, maybe it would be her over Beck. Wang probably could show up. Baek-doo-san is not dead. Wang is not dead. The people who say that those characters are dead is because they're taking the stories of Tekken 6 as canon. But people only do that for those two characters. No one ever says that Devil Ganryu is real. So what did Aruuu say? Call me crazy, but having 45% of Tekken 8 DLC characters be literally the same as the Tekken 7 DLC is wild. And this got 1,000 likes. Is this unavoidable? Quick tier list time, because we got to demonstrate there's a problem here. And the problem is the developer's obsession. Oh, look, this is the tier list that we did like a couple of days ago on how likely it was that the characters get announced. And I wasn't too far off. Okay, but let's reset this. Reset, and let's look at the problem. Here's the problem with Tekken 7 and why so many characters are returning DLC. Shahid, Zafina, Raven, Panda, Leo. Even though I like Claudio. Those 6 characters should not be in the game. Claudio and Zafina got story importance, but the same way that Leo's dad was just a story character, those 2 characters needs to just be a story character. And the same thing with Leo. Panda is too unpopular, and they need to just have Kuma and Roger be the characters that represent the animals on the roster. So that way you have different type of animals. Then Raven needs to be gone because it's been like six games. It's been like 4 games and he's been the least unpopular character in the whole entire game. Like, I'm tired of it. I'm tired of having these unpopular characters every single game be on the roster just because 3 people would cry. It's like, bro, like, I don't care, bro. There's more people crying about Miguel than people who would ever cry about. And same thing with Shahid. Get both of these characters out of here. No one plays them. The game be like, oh, but we got to put them in there. We have to. We have to. If they removed these 5 characters, here's what the base roster could have looked like. You could have had Eddie instead of Raven. You could have had Miguel instead of Shahid. You could have had Roger instead of Panda. Lydia instead of Leo. Fakaram instead of Claudio. Anna instead of Zafina. And then if they did that, all of these characters that you see here would be in the game already. Ain't that crazy? If they took these 6 idiots out that no one want, then all of these characters we're looking at right now would be in the game. How about taking out the idiot Yoshimitsu? How do you feel? Well, you know what I said, bro? I said Yoshimitsu is going to be DLC in Tekken 9. So I'm not that far off with, Yoshimitsu is going to be DLC in Tekken 9. I'm calling it now. We'll see. This is the thing. It's not character bias. You guys think I'm being biased against characters. Yoshimitsu's probably going to be DLC. Yoshimitsu will never be DLC. We said a similar thing about Eddie and Heihachi. Look at how that turned out. You can't be that biased since your character is legacy. So for the gone section, the purple gone section, which character do you not want them to remove? Raven, Claudio, Zafina's, and Raven? Raven? None of these characters were base roster, and DLC was Claudio and Raven. Would you guys be okay with that? You think Kazumi will be Tekken 9 though? Yes? Yes? That's cool? I think they should do that. Season 1 DLC, Raven, Yoshi, Claudio. I don't know, man. I just think if you sold characters for T7, they should be in the base for Tekken 8. And then Tekken 8 should have new characters for us, more hype than recycled announcement we got last game. Just my opinion personally. Well, the reason why that won't happen is because Tekken is kind of suffering from success. In Street Fighter's beta, how many characters did they have? In Mortal Kombat's beta, how many characters did they have? In Tekken 8's beta, they had 19 characters. That beta was 2 characters away from the full roster size of Street Fighter. In Tekken 8, the game, they had almost double the roster size of Street Fighter 6. Tekken 8 is just operating with way more characters than any of the other fighting games, which is why I think you can't spend time wasting with those with that purple section that we just talked about. You can't waste time with them because we don't have time to waste. But even then, Heihachi's going to be base roster. You would assume Marizu's going to be base roster in the next game. I would assume Bob, Kunimitsu. Like, I don't think they would sell these two characters 3 times. I don't think they're going to do that. They could, but I don't think they're going to do that. So this whole section right here looks like it's probably going to be base roster for the next Tekken game. So what 5 characters do you replace? Is it these 5 characters here? And then do we add Raven to that? So that's base roster for Tekken 9? That would be much better if these 6 characters were base roster. But Eddie, once again, being DLC is kind of chopped. You see what I mean? No matter how you organize this, I would love to see Aruuu organize this with 36 characters that should be base roster. No way you slice it will you not walk away with half of these characters being DLC. There's no way at all. So that's why I kind of don't put the blame on them for having some of these characters as DLC. But I do put some blame on them because they have this purple section that needs to be deleted. And maybe you could bring some of them back as DLC. Like you could probably even do Leo DLC in Tekken 9, right? But I think that this whole purple section is making a problem worse. What about Ganryu? Ganryu's never shown up again. Tekken fans just hate anything Tekken related. Tekken always comes with a big roster. How exactly would you sell a DLC character that's actually going to sell without them being in a previous game? People keep saying this, but they ignores 90% of the Tekken characters in the series were T7. They were 55 non-clones or guest characters prior to 8.47 of them were in T7. Yeah, that's the thing, right? You can't be like, oh, all the DLC is just Tekken 7 again. Meanwhile, Tekken 7 had the second biggest roster in Tekken history with 5 characters. There's only about 90 or so. Look at this. Look, there's not that many characters to pull from. If you wanted to go the route of let's not do non-Tekken 7 characters, let me do this. Let me cut the roster in half real quick. So this top section here is the characters that was in the base of Tekken 7, and then this is the DLC of Tekken 7. These are the characters who didn't exist yet, and then these are the characters who missed Tekken 7. So if you are one of those people who are like, oh, the DLC of Tekken 8 is just Tekken 7 again. Look at the characters that you would be picking from. The characters who have value here is Bruce, obviously, Beck a little bit, Mokujin. So I feel like the conversation of it's just Tekken 7 again, it's not really a valid take in my opinion. So let's see what this response said. 1, this is the blessing and the curse of having a large fighting game roster at launch, and most of the roster is legacy. The positives, you get a lot more bang for your buck at launch, having a ton of fan favorites play to lab against, which is what Tekken is going for at the moment. Since the roster is so large with at least 90% of it legacy, you can easily guesstimate who's returning to the game as DLC. Of course, guests decide, hence why some people may feel Tekken is just repeating Tekken 7 character lineup. The reason why this isn't much of an issue for other titles simply due to the other franchise opting to have smaller rosters and making sure half of the slots are filled with brand new characters. This opens up an insane number of possibilities for DLC picks. So yeah, it's like for Street Fighter 6, Luke Jamie new, this character new, this character new, this character new, this character new. But as a result of that, Bison DLC, Balrog DLC, Vega, Sagat, you know? If Tekken 7 was to go that same route, from this top green base section, if Tekken was to do the same thing as Street Fighter, characters you would lose is Fang, Dragunov, Jack. I don't even want to say you would lose Brian Fury. You would definitely lose Bob, Armor King, Kuni, Gigas. You would lose the majority of these characters. It's basically the point is, if Tekken 7 went the route of like putting half of the roster new characters like Street Fighter did, you would lose so many characters. It wouldn't even be, if these characters right here were DLC, or if they weren't in Tekken 8, it would be riot. It would be madness. And that's not even half. It's not even half. It would be an absolute riot. It doesn't even look like Tekken.